Hey y'all, welcome back to the Saloon. Hey, just a couple announcements before we get into the story. I'd like to thank everyone who's been subscribing to this channel. It really helps me out a lot. Facebook likes and all that stuff are great, but it doesn't help as much as subscribing and watching the content on this channel, or even sharing it. So if you've subscribed, thank you. If you think you know someone who might like Shiloh Saloon stories or what I do, or a fellow fan, please share it with them and get them to subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll know when I put a new video out. Also, I'd like to let everybody know that I've got a new album out called Straight Outta Done. Came out on May 30th. It's just been out a little over a month now. And if you'd like to order it, there's a link right here. You can order and get you a copy. It's CD format. And please consider subscribing. So, you know, as we've learned from this show, music does crazy things to people, right? I mean, it makes them act and do wild things that you wouldn't expect them to do. You know, for example, why do people come up on stage while you're playing? Why do folks come up and say, hey, can I sing a song? Why do folks come up and say, hey, my boyfriend or my girlfriend can play guitar really well. Can they play your guitar and do a song? Come on, get out of here. Why are you going to do that? As a musician, I would never dream of doing such a thing. You know, it's just disrespectful to the person playing, and it's disrespectful to the audience. You know, so what do you do when that happens? You know, obviously it's going to affect your, it's going to make you mad. It's going to affect your temper. And me, I had a really, really bad temper when these things happened back when I was young. And it's, only been until the last, 6 or 7 years that I let those ways go. Crazy, because I don't really have a bad temper in real life. But once you start messing with my performance, my music, my art, hey, you're going to get, well, you used to get that from me. I used to go pretty nuclear, So anyway, what does that have to do with this story? Well, I'll tell you. I used to play with my band when I lived out in the Midwest. I lived out there for about 6 years. I'm from North Carolina, but I moved out to Wichita, Kansas, as you know from earlier episodes of Shiloh Saloon Stories. And I used to play with my band in several college towns, Lawrence, Kansas being one, and the other one was Manhattan, Kansas. So I may be wrong, but I think Kansas University is there. But anyway, I don't know my universities. But anyway, we used to play this bar in Manhattan, and I can't even remember what it was called. We played there several times, gotten a pretty good little following from playing there. Well, we arrived a little early and set up for the show. I had just purchased a new PA system that cost $2,500 for the speakers, the monitors, and the board. And, this is my early 20s. I'm just starting out as a professional musician. So, that was a lot of money for me at the time to invest. Brand new PA, best, stuff that they had at the time. We got to the club early, set up the PA, everybody's set up, and we had about an hour to kill. So I happened to be sitting by the door of the entrance of this place anyway. And I had it in my mind that wouldn't it be funny to start carding people as they came in the door and acting like I was the door guy. So that's what I did. And I would do crazy stuff, like if a couple came in, I'd tell, I wouldn't ask for the girl's ID, but I'd stop the guy and say, hey, I need to see your ID. I know, kind of a goofy thing to do. But anyway, hey, I was young and having fun. Finally, the door guy got there and saw what I was doing. He was like, hey, man, he thought it was kind of funny, too. He was like, come on, move along, joker. So we started playing. People were really into the music and having a good time and everything. And, about halfway through the first set, I noticed these guys who came in the door. And the only reason I noticed them is because they were all dressed the same. I don't know if they were in a fraternity or what, but they were obviously young guys, college age. And the crazy, awkward thing about their whole thing was their getup. They all had on these white hats with a regular t-shirt, and then they had these blazers with Bermuda shorts and tennis shoes. It's like they're all dressed the same. Now, the crazy thing about that is this was in Kansas during either January or February. It's wintertime, dead of winter, and it's like 25 or 30 degrees outside. Well, I'm thinking, who are these guys? Well, I soon found out exactly who they were because they started walking across the stage during our performance. Well, the first time they did it, I got on the microphone and said something like, hey, this isn't an audience participation gig here, so if you'll stay off the stage, we'll appreciate it. Well, did they respect that? No. The next thing I know, they're doing really cute little things like going up and walking behind me, one at a time, going through, trying to, like it's a game or something. I mean, who does this, right? College kids. Exactly. Mom and Dad's money is really paying off, ain't it? Ooh, between the things they're teaching them and the way they're acting, I have to say no. But anyway, so this went on and on. I tried to keep my patience. Finally, I see one of these jokers at the side of the stage, and he's getting ready to come across again. And I said, don't do it. Don't do it. I started shaking my head, no. And I saw him continue to keep coming. As he came over, I noticed that he almost tripped over one of the wires, the cords that went to my new PA speaker that was standing over where he was walking from. And after that happened, I lost my temper big time. I turned my Telecaster with the strings towards me, flipped it over. It's basically a guitar that's just like a big long slab of wood when it gets down to it. And when he came over, I went up to him with all my might, pushed it into him, which launched him off the stage into a table where he fell over and looked like a damn fool. The next thing I know, the guy who owned the club came and made all of them leave. I don't know why he didn't make them leave in the first place. When this first started, maybe to his credit, he didn't see what was happening. We went on with the show, had a great show. Everybody was into it, kind of just, still a little mad, but it left me, Once the situation was over, it was over. So after we're done and we start packing up, and this stage where we're playing in has a big window behind it. And my bass player all of a sudden goes, Matt, and I'm busy down here packing up stuff. He goes, look out the window. And I turn around and guess what? There's the 3 college guys with the hats and the blazers and the shorts. Except they've grown to about 50 or 60 other guys who are all going, mouthing stuff at us through the window, knocking on the window, doing this number, and when y'all gonna come out, when you gonna pack your stuff up, when you gonna load your stuff, come on out, we're waiting on you, that kind of stuff. So I'm sitting there thinking, what do we do? Because obviously, if we go out there, we're gonna be pulverized. I went up to the guy who was running the club. I can't remember if he was the owner or who was just the manager that night, and told him what was happening and did he have any good ideas. And he said, listen, your best bet is this. There's a cop that walks the beat out here. He walks all around this little area with all these bars just to check and make sure everything's cool. And he said, your best bet is to get a hold of him and tell him what happened. So the window was here, and the entrance to the club is down on this side, and there's a door. I peek my head out the door, and it just so happens that this cop is standing right in front of my van where I had parked it, where we loaded in at the beginning of the night. I got a hold of him, and I said, look, told him what was going on. I didn't tell him about, pushing the guy off with the Telecaster and assaulting him. But I told him that we had some beef with these guys. I didn't know what their problem was, whatever. And he said, look, just get your stuff. I'll stand right here at your van, load it up, and get the hell out of here. And that's what we did. Got all our stuff, loaded it up. Well, we expected when we went out of town to see these guys still at the window. But to our surprise, they had disbanded. So was it just an empty threat, or were they really gonna pounce, I don't know. I didn't want to find out, you know. So, you know, sadly enough, like that did not teach me a lesson. And it took me, another 15 years or so to realize that, hey, it's just not worth it. Okay. Especially in this day and time, because I'm sure I don't have to tell you that people get crazier and crazier. And, you know, at some point I decided this, and I would give this advice to young musicians or anyone who ends up in a situation where your temper may get the best of you. And it's this: that gig, that pay for that night, it's not going to make or break you. So here's what you do: walk. And, you know, I don't solicit gigs anymore, so I don't run into these problems really. Most of the people that book me want me there, and it's a safe situation. I don't play a lot of college towns and stuff like I did when I was in my youth. But I will say this: if I even see a red flag, if somebody's doing something and the venue, whoever's in charge, the bouncer or whatever, won't do anything about it, I just walk. I pack my stuff up, tell my band I'll pay you for the night out of my pocket, no problem, and we go home. You know, that hasn't happened in a long time. It did happen close to Chapel Hill and Durham, I guess about 7 years ago. That's the last incident I can really remember happening. And it wasn't really an incident as where people were being malicious towards the band, but people got so out of control because of the music. Once again, they enjoyed the music so much that, you know, before I knew it, you know, there's drunk guys falling over my bass player's amp, and, you know. And I told the bartender, who could not get control of the situation, I said, hey, very politely, I said, we're going to go ahead and pack up. You can pay us for what we've done thus far, but we're not going to stay here because it's out of control. And we left, and I paid my band and took a little cut, and that was okay, because it's not worth getting yourself injured or your bandmates injured or their equipment ruined, and the next thing you know, you're responsible for what happened to their equipment. You feel like you have to, because you got to make it right with your band. You can't just leave them out. At least I won't. You know, I try to take care of the people that play with me and look after them. So anyway, the moral is, keep your temper in check. Don't put up with any monkey business. Okay? Listen. Appreciate y'all coming by the saloon. Come by next week. Got a real good story for you about opening up for and meeting Taj Mahal. It happened a couple times, but the first time is a pretty unique story because it has to do with a hat store that I worked at. In fact, it was the last job I had before I became a professional musician. I was a hat blocker, a hat cleaner, a hat shaper. I sold hats. And it's a hell of a story. And also, if you missed last week's episode, it's about me opening up for and meeting Buddy Guy. I'll put a link to it at the end of this video. Listen, y'all have a good week. Thanks for coming by the saloon. Please remember to subscribe. Tell a friend to subscribe. Let's get the subscribe count up, okay? Don't forget your notifications. I'm going to take this one to go. Y'all have a good week.